Welcome back. This is David Dean, and today we're going over the best range weapon in the game. And for you that just wants a quick answer and doesn't want to have to listen to all the details, they just want to know what the general opinion out there for the best weapon, here you go. It is the Hydra. It is the best overall range weapon out there. It only comes out during special events, one that's going on right now. You can go to the event store and buy it. For a non-event weapon, the one that seems to get the most hype from everybody when I first started this game and everybody recommended was the Super Shredder. And fortunately, I have some insane perks on this Super Shredder. I got it late in the game, really liked it. But those are the two best range weapons out there on average. Now, if you actually want to listen through detail and understand why I use certain weapons more than other ones, what perks I look for on weapons, and what matters to me on weapons, and hopefully I can help you to pick out the best weapon for you in the game, because it really does come down to an individual. This weapon, the Super Shredder, like I said, this is the most recommended weapon I heard during the whole game, and I got the best perks on it I believe I can possibly have, and it's still not the weapon I use the majority of the time. So if you want to get in the details, stick around and I will walk you through. I have done every mission in the game. I have completed it out. I do a lot of soloing. I do have a ton of weapons, and I have the weapons from every single special event that has come out. So now we'll go ahead and start getting into the details for those who enjoy that sort of thing. I will start off, actually, since I mentioned the Hydra first, I will mention that. To me, that is just a great all-around weapon in the game. First of all, no matter what weapon you get, a lot comes down to perks. So if you have an average weapon with great perks, and I'll mention one of those here that I have, to me that outdoes a great weapon with lousy perks. So the Hydra, it just has standard great perks, and these perks seem pretty common among event weapons. And if you notice, I really have, for my top weapons, let's see, 10 top weapons I use. This one is special event. This is special event. This was the Founders. And this is special event. And this one's special event. So half of the best weapons I like using all come from special events. And the special event weapons can have random perks, like this Piston Spitter. Or it can have set perks, like the Gravedigger, which, like I said, it has perks very similar to the Hydra, where increase to crit chance, increase to crit damage, and energy. And in this case, the energy it has is fire with affliction. So, but for the Hydra, it has great stats, even though it shoots pellets or shotgun. It is an assault weapon, so your assault bonuses you can get from the soldiers, certain soldiers, and also from certain support squad perks can be added onto it. So it just has some really good perks. And then going into the stats, it has great impact. It has a great range. Even though it's shooting shotgun shells, it shoots the range of just a little bit lower than the average assault weapon out there. And just everything on this is just kind of a smooth road for using it. The rate of fire is really good, and if you hold down the fire button, it will start firing faster and faster. Only one criticism I have is that the reload is a clip, like on my other shotgun, the Founders one here, which is very similar to it, just has a lot more impact. If I shoot 2 shells out of it, I can replace 2 shells really fast. And of course, the more shells you have to replace, the longer it takes. Where the Hydra, it's always a clip. if I shoot 2 shells, it doesn't replace 2 shells, it replaces the entire clip, so you have a set reload time. That is such a minor thing, but since I go back and forth between these two so much, I do notice it. But the Hydra is just a great great weapon to use day to day with great perks on it. And before I press on to any more weapons, I will talk about the perks. As far as the key perks I look for on any weapon, first thing I absolutely love, we'll hop over to the Gravedigger, is energy, which you see down the bottom as fire, and then cause affliction. That affliction damage is huge, and it's definitely something worth taking. On my Riptide, this is a pistol I use for my Ranger, and it shoots out a massive amount of bullets very fast. And if I have a group of husks coming in at me, I basically do the spray and pray, where I just try to hit every single husk one time to get that affliction damage going, and then I focus on the one husk I really want to focus on, do headshots on him, take him down, and then as I'm doing that, I will see the other husk just dying off, the little dwarf husk or the standard husk, because the affliction will just go through them, and it does make a huge difference. My second favorite is just to see energy damage. When you have energy damage on a weapon, it can just be pure energy that does an equal amount to all energy-based husk and does that additional damage. Or you can have the fire, like this one, you can have the water, or you can have the nature. And that's one of the reasons I don't use the Super Shredder all the time, because when I'm running around with the Hydra, I can shoot anything and it's doing great damage. If I'm running around with the Super Shredder and I run into fire husk, it's not doing that much damage. And also, this will go back to how you set up your weapons. You have 3 slots. Some people do put in 3 different energy type weapons in the 3 different slots, so they're always doing that huge damage, additional damage to any energy husk. The way I set up mine is I have my one key weapon I like using, and then I have a short range burst weapon, usually a double barrel shotgun, and then in my third slot I have a RPG for when things get really bad. I can just whip that out and clear out the area. So a lot of this, when I'm talking about my favorite weapon, it is for that 3 slot setup that I do. Now, if I was running the other setup where I have one energy type in each one, then yeah, I would have the Super Shredder loaded all the time for the nature affliction damage. I would have the Gravedigger with the fire affliction, and I would have the Riptide with the water affliction damage. But since I want one main really good weapon I can use on anything, I run with the Hydra, unless I'm using a hero that has shotgun perks, because I do like to change up, play different things. Then I'll switch over to the Founder's Deconstructor, which has basically the same stats, increased crit chance, damage, it has the energy, and then damage and reload, which are nice. But going back to perks I like, start off with any energy that has affliction, then just plain energy, then it's one of the 3 types of energy without the affliction, and then I start looking at crit chance. The higher your crit chance, then you get the big bonus in crit damage, and that is just a great thing to have. And of course, if you have increased crit chance, then of course you want increased crit damage. To me, it's not a big deal to have a big, huge increase in crit damage if you only have a 5% to crit chance. But if you get up to a 20-30% of chance of crit chance, then yeah, you definitely want that crit damage bonus. And then it gets a little bit whatever you want on it. If you have affliction, let's see if any of these have it straight off. No, but there is perks for affliction damage, which will give you a large 19% in damage increase, but it only really helps if you have a weapon that does affliction. Otherwise, it's a kind of useless perk. And then the other ones just kind of become nice. Reload speed is great. I'm trying to get better at doing the headshots. I know a lot of people that are great at doing headshots, so for them, having the headshot perk is just huge. On me, I like it. It's nice, and hopefully as I get better with headshots, I'll like it even more. But I just going through my top 10 weapons here. The next one I said is the Super Shredder. This one, actually, I'm sure there's some people just going crazy out there because of the perks on it. It has Nature Affliction. It has increased crit chance, crit damage, and then 2 damage increases. So 19% of the time, I'm doing plus 80%. It does have a shorter range than most of the snipers, but I've never had an issue with it. The main issue I have with it is the reload time. I like getting down, unfortunately, and getting close to the mobs I'm fighting, so the sniper aspect doesn't help me that much. And having a slow reload time when you got a bunch of stuff moving in on you fast is not a great thing to have. So, I love it. I'm definitely going to always have it and keep it, but not my day-to-day weapon. And I will jump over the RPG. I'll talk about those a little bit later on. Next one, this is another weapon that came out for a special event during the Halloween event, the Gravedigger. Once again, you got the energy with the affliction, you got crit chance, crit damage. This one does have the damage to afflicted targets. So I'm doing 22.5% more damage to everything I'm shooting, because everything I'm shooting has affliction on it. And then another 15% damage. A great solid weapon. Come around next Halloween, definitely grab it if they bring it out again. When I'm running my Ranger, I have increased pistol damage, and I've actually really learned to love this Riptide. It took me a little bit. And one thing I'm going to say, no matter what I tell you about these weapons, and I'm going to get away from the Riptide for a second, when you get a weapon that looks great and looks like you want to have this as something to throw a bunch of resources into, before you do it, take it into a low-level zone in Stonewood and run around. No, just do a basic, easy mission like build the radar towers or save the survivors and test out how it fires. Like I said, I got the weapon that everybody told me I wanted to have and was best out there, but I didn't like how it reloaded. And unfortunately, I made this mistake a few times with the with the Death Ray, which was my first legendary item. I thought this thing was the greatest thing. It had 3 damage perks on it, and it just looked like it was going to do tons of damage, and it does do a ton of damage. The problem is it does hardly any impact whatsoever. And for me, I love the control aspect of weapons and traps and other things. I seem to survive a lot more by exploiting those control aspects. But by having such a low impact, if I was fighting a blaster husk, when they got ready to shoot the laser out at me from their face, pretty much with any other weapon with a decent impact, as long as I kept shooting them, it kept knocking them off balance so they couldn't blast me away. And with this weapon, it didn't do enough impact. So if mobs were coming towards me, if it was an exploder with a propane tank, if I was using my shotgun, I would shoot it, and even if I didn't kill it, it would slow it down from throwing the propane at me. With this one, I was doing massive damage, but it wouldn't stop them from attacking me. And I know a lot of people, when they think weapon, oh, I want whatever kills Husk faster. I don't think that. I want the weapon that keeps me alive the longest. And this weapon definitely is doing massive damage, but I took off the tag as a favorite item. And when I get a new weapon that I really love, this one's going to be getting recycled because it does not keep me alive. And to continue on that, I made the mistake with pistol. First good pistol I thought I got legendary, and some people love this pistol. I will state that before I get any further. Is Freedom's Heralder. And this thing, it is an energy weapon. It does... Oh, I guess it's not energy. Sorry. It's basically a firecracker weapon. It shoots like a flare, but I got crit chance, crit damage. So, no, 46% chance of crit and 180% damage. It is a short range. I thought on my Ranger I would replace my double-barreled shotgun that I use for close burst attacks with this thing, because it just does so much more damage than the other one that I had been using. Unfortunately, how this thing fires, it fires like a flare. It doesn't really shoot in a straight path. It drops off really fast. Then it rolls on the ground or bounces off a wall, which is kind of neat to see, but it really didn't help. And the thing that messed it up was it does have a really big impact, but the impact is from the point it hits. So if you got a group of 5 husks coming at you, you shoot for the husk in the center. This thing hits it, it blows up, and now all those husks are flying different directions. And some of them are going to be flying towards you. That is not what I want. Where if you're using a double-barrel shotgun, everything coming at you, you shoot it, that massive impact sends them all back basically in the same direction, so they're still in that nice, neat, tight ball. So even though you're doing less damage, you're keeping them in a nice, tight area, where this thing would scatter them. And so this is another one. Gonna be redoing. And I've had that, and on this one, once again, it looked like a great weapon. It does insane amounts of damage, but the reload speed on it, I just absolutely hated. So I ended up, once again, I'm going to recycle this, and even on my Ranger, who gets a ton of pistol perks, because I love the way it operates, I'm going to stick with my double-barrel shotgun, just because it's much better at managing the attackers coming at me. But that's just, to me, my words of advice. Don't make the same mistakes I made by leveling up something because it looks great, the perks are great, everything on paper looks great, and then once you spend all the resources, you go to use it and you find out it's just not the weapon for you. Riptide, I ended up loving this one. It's doing the massive damage with the energy, with the affliction damage, and it has it looks like a low impact, but this thing has an extremely high rate of fire, which each one of those bullets doing that impact, and that impact building up against their scores for resisting it. So it does end up being a great pistol. And I thought this one would not be, and it's working out great. I do have a laser pistol. It has good stats on it, and it has the headshot damage, which, as I said, I'm trying to get better with the headshots. But basically, I use this with the Riptide. It is great for everything except for water, so it's not good against nature. So if I'm running a mission like an Atlas mission or something else where it tells you the energy type of the husk beforehand, and it says it's of a type that the Riptide's weak against, then I'll switch over to the laser and use it instead. The other thing, which I forgot to mention with this first legendary weapon I have that I thought was going to be so great, the energy weapons do, on average, do much more damage than a standard weapon, but you run out of that energy ammo so much faster. It is the hardest ammo to find in the game, and it is the ammo that uses up the most amount of resources to craft it, and you end up really fast running out of those resources. So I usually hold my, even if it's a good energy weapon like this one, I use it as a secondary weapon until I max out my energy ammo, When I max out my energy ammo, I'll slide in the energy weapon until it's down to about half of my ammo stash, and then I'll switch it back out. And I used to have, as my favorite assault weapon, the Siege Breaker. And now you can see I have 3 of these Siege Breakers, and I had recycled the one I had been using. This was the weapon everybody told me was great after the Super Shredder. Everybody should get it. It does do a lot of damage, but it also, a lot of that ammo just seems to go flying off wherever. And I really liked my Deathstalker so much better. First of all, killer stats. I get the water damage. It doesn't have affliction, but it's still energy, so it's still a great weapon to use most of the time. The perk for damage to slow and snare targets is basically useless on this weapon. It does have 2 crit chances and headshot damage. And I actually like using this as a sniper rifle more than the Super Shredder. Super Shredder does not have a scope. This one does have a scope, and even though it is a assault rifle, it has a range of over 5,000, which is the exact same range as my sniper rifle. But it's an assault rifle, so I get my soldier perks, and I also get my support squad's perks on it. So I've just ended up using this basically as my assault rifle, which absolutely works great. The other thing is, when you go through this game, you want to get weapons that are different on all aspects. On what ammo they use, and on what you need to craft them. Because if you're using, and I had this at one time, I had 3 great weapons, but they were all used shotgun shells, and they all use the same materials to craft them. So I was having, between missions, to go out and solo just to gather resources to keep rebuilding these 3 weapons. And finally I got a 4th one that used different ammo, used different crafting materials, and that made life so much easier. So make sure you look at that also when you're looking at weapons to level up after you get 2 or 3 really good ones. Try to get one that's using different ammo and using different crafting materials. And yes, on this one of my favorite weapons to use. It has the long range, and if I'm using my defenders, which I know hardly anybody does, and I'm trying to use them now, I'm going to do a series of videos on soloing level 100 missions where I'll be using my defenders a lot. I will be using snipers with the Super Shredder, and I will be using assault rifles defender with the Deathstalker right here. I already talked a little bit about the Deconstructor. That's only if you got the Founders Pack. It is just a good, solid shotgun that has a decent range of 3,000. So it's still very feasible at most of the time you're fighting. And it just does a killer impact, which you will constantly hear me saying in my videos. I love slowing things down to better manage and control the situation, which this shotgun definitely does. And on this, once again, good stats. Already talked about the Hydra. And this weapon is a great weapon to talk about. It's Old Smoky. It's from one of the events, but basically it's a double barrel shotgun. The same you can get as a standard weapon. And this one goes against pretty much everything I've been saying about great stuff on paper. Because perks, it does not have my favorite perks on it. It does not have energy. It does not have affliction. It does not have increased crit chance. All the things I would love to have on this. But the way it fires, it has a high fire rate. It has a massive impact, and it fires in that cone shape. So I can sit there and get a line of mobs following me, and I can just sit there and blast it and hit 10 to 15 mobs at one time, knocking almost all of them either down or dead. And I can keep doing that again and again because it reloads faster than they can get up off the ground. And by having a weapon that can reload faster than they can get up off the ground, allows me to just constantly take them out. Also, those annoying little hummingbird shielders. Trying to target those things with a normal weapon is a royal pain in the butt, mainly if there's multiple ones of them. This double barrel shotgun takes out those hummingbirds in a heartbeat. You just run up, point in the general direction, 1 or 2 shots, and they are gone. Plus, whoever they were shielding usually gets knocked down from the impact, and then you can reload and take them out. And I'm also glad I got this weapon because this is the Piston Spitter. It is currently out. If you watch my video on hydraulic weapons, I tell you this is a kind of less than average weapon, unless you are a ranger with a bunch of pistol perks, and then it's a kind of a good weapon. Not great, but a good one. The thing is, on this one, on my pistols, like I said, I had a water pistol up here with energy damage, and I needed something to take out the nature, and so I got this one with fire and with affliction, increased fire rate and crit chance, and 2 damages. So this one just had absolutely the great perks for me taking out a category of energy husk my number 1 pistol did not do. I still personally hate the sound of this one. It sounds like a nail gun, which, me doing heavy construction for a long time and using nail guns, I thought I would like that, but no, it just sounds kind of wimpy. But it sounds wimpy, but it does really good knock or impact. So it's great for maintaining control. And with that affliction, I will sit there. If I got 3 husky husks coming at me, each one will take 2 shots to knock it down. And that's doing affliction. And I'll just keep rotating all 3 husky husks. Keep knocking them down, keep putting affliction on them, and pretty soon they are dead and gone. And those are really, throughout the whole game, those are the weapons I've ended up using and enjoying the most. I will get into the RPG. Right now, this one also is available. Hydraulics, I just love the hydraulics. But the Dam Buster. And this one, it doesn't really have killer perks on it. Like I said, I like the crit chance, I like the crit damage. But that is not why I got it. Why I got it is I don't think anything in the game can touch the massive impact this thing does. And it has a longer range than most of the other RPGs out there. Definitely, I think it has longer than any of the other event RPGs out there. And it just does massive, massive impact. The thing is when I use this pretty well, it's going to kill everything of the normal husk, the dwarf husk, pitchers, things like that. It's going to set off the propane tanks and knock them way, way back. And that's one thing. I'm really interested in protecting my structure. I love playing a constructor. And I want whatever is coming in to get knocked way the hell back. And that way, whatever it is I'm knocking back, they have to go over the traps again. They're still getting shot by my defenders again. And I got time to switch to a high damage weapon and just finish off whatever this thing doesn't kill. I know a lot of people, all they want to know is what RPG does the most massive damage. Right now, I believe that is the trash cannon. And yeah, it just does a little bit more than the Halloween jack-o'-lantern. If I was to level up either one of these, because I do like the fact these have fire, and this one has fire affliction. So for me, if I was to level it up, I would do the jack-o'-lantern, because when you do the massive hit with this RPG, everything would still be taking damage for 6 seconds. And I'm looking at, I'll wait and see what comes out on Valentine's Day event in 2 weeks or so. And if I don't get anything good, then I'll finally level up an RPG that just is focused on massive damage. And also, I want it to last longer. If you're doing Storm Shield defenses or something else where you are doing a lot of firing of them, and they're going to get eat up and destroyed. This one durability is 20. This one is 12. And the difference in DPS is just 1,600. So right there, if you're just worried about how much damage per shot, then yeah, trash cannon. If you're worried about how much damage per RPG for each one you make, then it's definitely the Jack-o'-lantern. But then once again, the Jack-o'-lantern uses a little bit more materials, so there's a lot you can go back and forth. But the fact that this one has fire affliction on it just puts it over the top. Definitely would take that over the trash cannon. I do have some weapons I want to level up. Unfortunately, as I said, my favorite weapons are shotgun weapons almost always. And even when they come out with an assault rifle, like the Hydra, that I find myself really enjoying, it ends up using shotgun shells. So I'm running out of shotgun shells a lot. But there is the Room Sweeper. And this thing, evidently, from everything I hear and have seen, it's a Tommy gun shotgun. So as the name implies, I can just sweep the room doing massive, massive damage as a shotgun. It does have affliction damage on it, so everything is going to keep taking damage as I sweep this thing across the room. The impact, though, is really low. So for me, as a control guy, I'm not liking it that much. Plus, if I run out of any type of ammo, it's usually shotgun shells. So I don't like the idea of having a shotgun that's just going to eat them up even faster. And then we got the Thunderbolt. Basically the double barrel shotgun you can standardly get. And this one, the reason this one I like, they didn't have this in the beginning, they've added on the perk of plus 25% impact and plus 400 knockback magnitude. So if I level this thing up, anything I shoot is gonna go flying. And that would be great. I would love to see this. It actually has better stats with the increased crit chance, increased crit damage than Old Smoky, which I was saying I have been using ever since that event came out. Just checking quick, the range is the same, reload, and looks like everything on it. Oh, it even has a faster rate of fire. Oh, rate of fire 3.5. Okay, a little slower, so it'd be a little bit slower in rate of fire. This is another one I would love to level up, but I'm going to wait to see on Valentine's Day whether I want to get rid of the other ones. But it really just comes down to personal preference. Like I said, the Riptide I had to learn to love. It took a little bit, but it's a great weapon. The weapon I really wanted, and made it also a mistake. I made a mistake of leveling up a lot of pistols. Was the Judge, because it has massive impact, but it doesn't have the energy on it or affliction. It does increase damage to afflicted targets, but I don't do affliction, so that's a waste. So to me, that was kind of a waste on that. Talking RPGs, I did not mention the Snowball launcher that came out during the Christmas event. This one I thought I would love because it has a huge control aspect to it by doing a 30% slow on things that it hit. But once again, this fires like the Heraldor, where it does a flare or a softball-like attack where it has a quick arch to it after you fire it. And it does a blow-up of a white cloud. And overall, I tried to love it, I tried to use it, and I just did not enjoy it. But once again, so much of this, if you want the best, the most perfect weapon, it's totally personal opinion. And even, no, as I said, my favorite weapon I have on me the most is the Old Smoky with horrible perks on it. Just because I like the way it operates and it suits the way I want to battle the Husk. So definitely ask me any question you have about weapons. I have most of them. I can go out and I can test them and play around with them. There are some really cool weapons like the bolt, where you shoot it and it'll just go through multiple husks. It will, I believe this one, you can hit the walls of the tunnels and stuff and it'll just bounce around. And other just great weapons in this game. But you have to pick the weapon you enjoy. So if you have a weapon, before you put anything into it, go back down to Stonewood, run a mission with it, and see how it feels in your character's hands, and see if this is what you really enjoy playing. Because that is what will decide whether you're using it or not. Alright, I hope that helps. I gave you some of the details. There's always more information out there. There's always more opinions. So definitely let me hear yours. What are your thoughts? And I'll be talking to you in the future.